we deployed that model in the using in our local system using Flask, right? Yeah, we did virtual environment as well. Why did we use virtual environment, by the way? Yes, anyone? Why did we use virtual environment? To separate dependencies. Okay, basically to prevent the version conflict. Yeah, to prevent version conflict that happens if you are dealing with some different projects in a single system. So that's why we did it, right? Great. Okay, so if you guys remember the in the last session that we did, I haven't started the video yet. Yeah, Paddy, I'll do it. So what I'm saying is, last in the last session that we covered, if you guys remember, the link that we got after we run after we executed that app.py thing, that was not public, right? That was not public. It was only we were only able to access it from my system. Why? Because that was in the local host. So basically today, what we are gonna do is we will deploy that particular model in the server. Before moving ahead, let's have a quick recap of what we did and why are we going to deploy it in the server, not in our local system. Okay, so let me just share the screen once. Is there anyone who is having doubts from the previous session, from the last week session? Is the screen visible? Okay, this chat box is again not visible. Okay. Mm, Rajwant is saying I had missed last week's session. Rajwant, you can go through the recording. The recording is already uploaded. Yeah. So you guys remember this particular script that we wrote? Yeah. Sagar, what I would suggest is just go through the recording once because today's we won't be. Is there anyone who is still in confusion with that virtual environment thing? No, it's clear. Okay, Manish, I will take you on air. Just explain, Sagar, what is basically a virtual environment. Okay, I'm just taking you on air. Just give me a second. Manish, you are allowed to talk. Yeah, Manish, you can unmute yourself.
Yeah, good evening, Himanka. How are you?
Yeah, I am doing good, Manish.
Great, great.
Yeah. So
So
just
basically,
explain him the what is
yeah,
virgin conflict
yeah,
and why we use virtual environment.
yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, virtual environment is an isolated environment. So in our system, we can have multiple environments. So suppose if I take an example of NumPy, we are having three versions of NumPy: NumPy 3.7, 3.9, and 3.8. And 3.9 we are using for churn analysis. 3.7 we are using for car price prediction, and 3.8 for house price prediction. Now, if we want to run all these three versions on our system, there'll be a version conflict. So for that, we create a virtual environment, basically.
Are you is that concept clear, Sagar? Able to understand why we use virtual environment basically to avoid that version conflict. Suppose you are
Yeah.
working on the churn project, then what happens if you are using NumPy 9 point? Let's take it as 3.9. If you are working on 3.9, but once you're done with that churn project, and simultaneously we want to work on some other house prediction project, suppose, yeah, and there you require NumPy 3.2, then what will you do? You'll have to either upgrade the NumPy version, and once again if you are going to that churn project again, you'll have to downgrade it. That's going to be a hectic process out there. For that, we used to have something known as virtual environments. Clear? Thank you,
Right.
Manish. Thank you for
Thank
coming
you.
on air.
Well, thanks.
Yeah. Okay. So, is there any doubt in this particular script? No, right? So, how did we executed this particular part? We did it using Anaconda prompt. I hope this particular part was clear. Is there any confusion? I'm just doing it so that you guys can recap it once, right? So that particular whole these files are present in the churn folder, right? So what I did cd churn. Once I did cd churn over here, then if you just look at the directory, there is another folder churn. Then again I did churn, cd churn. After that, what I did, uh, I'll scroll it down. Just give me a second. Yeah. So after that, where is the annotation? Yeah. So after that, I did directory, and these are the files present inside my uh, that particular folder, this directory, churn directory. Able to understand, guys? Any doubt till here? Yes. After that, what I did Python app.py, which executed my Flask script that I wrote, and these were some of the warnings that we get, and it was basically a link was given to us, right? So this was the link. Uh, this is it. This was the link given to us, and if I paste this link over there in the browser, my web app was getting open. Till here we did it in the last session, right? So if I'm giving this link to you guys, are you able to access it up? I am giving this link over there in the chat box. Just have a look. Is it possible? No, you will get an error, correct? So for that, today what we are going to do is we'll deploy it in a server. And if you see, once I executed that, here some warnings are there. Some warnings are there. The first main warning is, this is a development server, do not use it in production. So you can't use this particular thing in production, right? Use a production WSGI server instead. So there is this something known as WSGI. Is there anyone who knows the full form of WSGI? No? So basically WSGI stands for Web Service Gateway Interface. Correct, correct, Ankesh. Ankesh, just put it in the all panelists and attendees, please. Yeah, great. So WSGI stands for Web Service Gateway Interface. So if you want to convert your local system into a WSGI server, then there is something known as Apache server, which you guys need to install if you want your local system to work as a server. Getting my point? But as of now, it's not a server. So use a production ready WSGI server instead. So we are going to use this server to deploy it in a so to make it public, right? So for that, what we have done is we have created a mini server. Obviously, if you guys know, to create a server you need to pay something, right? So for you guys, we have taken a server from GCP. So I want just show you the step-by-step guide how to create a server, right? That is something which you guys can easily do it. I am just pasting a link, a documentation. This documentation is having all those steps to see how to create a server, right? So I am pasting this link. Just put it in your bookmark or something. Yeah, it's gonna be cloud-based deployment, Prashant. Anyways, to nowadays everyone does cloud-based deployment, right? No one takes a physical machine and keep on working on it. So for that, I have given you a link. So please give a heads up if you have received that link. That particular link is having step-by-step process to create a server in GCP. What is GCP? GCP is basically Google Cloud Platform. Yeah. So as you can see in the screen itself, there are some pretty easy steps which you guys need to do. So you'll get a Ubuntu machine basically to work on this production environment. Ubuntu is something which is preferable. Yeah. And you'll have to basically in GCP you will get $300 free credits in the very first trial. So you can use that, but to use that you'll have to give your credit card or debit card details inside it, which it won't deduct any money until and unless you are going for a paid subscription or something like that, but you need to give your credit card details over there, and your GCP platform will get activated. Yeah. So then you can create a VM instance. Okay. So once you create that instance and you start executing it, you just turn on the server, you'll get an IP. This IP, is this IP visible, guys? Yeah, you can go for AWS as well, Avinash, no worry. Yeah, that you need to take care of, Shubham. That's why you just can't keep the server on for a very long time. Just work on it and turn it off. Yeah, exactly, exactly. Oh, Shubham has already got into that trap, so that's why he's advising everyone. AWS is also, I guess, they are also providing some free credits over there. But that's up to you. See, the server is up to you which server you want to work. The process is anyways going to same. Is anyways going to be same. How the deployment process is anyways going to be same. It's not like only AWS and GCP is providing cloud services, right? There are many local cloud providers as well. So it's up to you whichever service provider you want to go, you can use that, but the deployment process is anyways going to be same. Getting my point, guys? Any doubt? So once you turn it on, you'll get this particular thing where the IP is mentioned, right? So I have my IP with me, so let's see how to access the server first. Guys, are you ready? Is there any doubt? I hope you have received the link. So I'll put it again. Just go keep this link in your bookmark, and you guys can just go through it to see how to create a server. Okay. So now let me open something known as Putty. So how many of you guys know what is Putty? Yes. Great, great. So many of you guys know already, right? So what is Putty, by the way? Exactly. So if you are having a Windows machine, then connecting to the server becomes a bit difficult. If you are using an Ubuntu machine, then it's very easy, right? But if you are using a Windows machine, then you'll have to go through this client known as Putty. Yeah. So how to download Putty? You can just search for Putty download. Okay. And here, from here, you can download it. I'm putting this link over there in the chat box. You can start downloading it. Yeah. This is where, if you are using a Windows machine, I am doing this particular thing just because most of the students out here are Windows user, right? So that's why I'm doing it in using this thing, Putty, because in my system I'm having Ubuntu and Windows both. So if I want, I can show it in the Ubuntu as well, but let's do it in Windows because most of the students here are from Windows. Yeah, obviously, Avinash, Windows version is very difficult because of some security reasons, right? Windows is not open source, so there are some security reasons that you guys need to take care of. Yeah. So just download Putty from there. Yeah, I need to download the client, Manish. Download and install it. Once you install, you will, once you open it, you will reach this particular page. This window will open. Yeah, this window is going to open. Is it visible? Is the window visible? Is the bitwise Putty window visible? Okay. So here what I am putting my IP, the IP that I guys told you that will be present once you turn on your server. So this is my IP. This is my username. There will be a username and password to authenticate, which I have already set. My username is inside and I am having my password. Yeah. Manisha, that's what I said. Putty is a client to connect your local Windows system to a server. Yeah, you can directly connect it. Getting my point? Okay. So here you'll have to put your IP, username, and select your initial method as Umesh. Host is the address that you will get once you turn on the server. Yeah. Once you turn on the server, as I showed you here, right? This is the uh, IP that you will get. This particular IP. So this will obviously differ from server to server. So, but it will be mentioned like this: external IP. Yeah. So that I'm using here, my username is inside my password. My initial method, I'm selecting it as password. So after that, I'll click on login. So once you log in, they will ask you for a permission that you need to accept. So they will attempt a password authentication. So I'll have to put my password over here. Obviously, I can't tell you the password, right? So this is the password. So once I give my password, my authentication is completed. Guys, are you in the same page? Is there any doubt? Password is not password. Try that out, Avinash. If you are able to access the server, well and good. Yeah. Are we guys in the same page? Can I get a heads up? Yeah. Is there any doubt? Login button was present over here, Manish. Now it's log out. It was here. Here it was. Yeah. Now it's log out because I have already logged in. Yep. Now this is done. Now what should be my next step, by the way? This is an empty server. It doesn't have anything. Okay. So what should I do now? How did I deploy it in my local system? Before deploying it, I need the files on that server, right? You'll have to create a folder and you'll have to put the all those files, not only app.py. Only app.py gonna work, guys? Tell me. WSGI script is needed. That we haven't created it yet, Prashant. That we will do. But I'm just asking you the very first step that we need to do. We are logged in into our server now. Yeah. I'll open the terminal here. We are logged into our server. Here it's written welcome to Ubuntu and all those stuff, right? We are logged into our server, but this server is not having anything. It doesn't have uh, your these things like all the dependencies. Python is pre-installed, so you don't need to install Python. Yeah, but what about the files that we created? These files. These files are also not present over there, right? Getting my point? So we need to place these files first. That is what we need to do. The very first step. Until and unless you are not putting these files, i- is the installation of package and everything needed? No, right? What will you do without these files? If you keep on installing Flask and everything, what will you run over there? Is there anything to execute? No, right? That I'm server is empty. Nothing is there. Now this is going to be a Ubuntu server. As I said, we are working on Ubuntu, so the commands will be a bit different that we were using in Windows, right? It's not going to be the same, almost same, but some of those stuffs needs to be a bit different. Yeah, I am doing it. I am doing it. So before going on with all those things, what I am saying is let's put the file over there in the server. Yeah, Vinash. So for that, what I'll do, there is a new SFTP window option over here. This option, new SFTP window. So we'll click on that. So here you can see two windows, right? Two windows are opened over here. One is your local system. This is your local system, and this is your remote server. Correct? Yeah. So from here, what I need to do is I need to copy my this churn folder. We are having these files over here. I need to copy this churn folder to my what? To my server. So I'll just drag it up here and I'll paste it. So it's getting copied. It's copied. The churn is now present over here in my server. Clear till here? Any doubt, guys? See, just focus on this particular thing because you won't be getting any step-by-step process written over there. So you'll have to refer the recording again and again, right? Although I will give the commands that I'll be using in writing in a text document, but obviously you need to understand we can't give each and every step that we are performing here in some preparing a case study or something. This is real time, correct? So just focus on this. So this is how the file is being transferred to the do we have to do it for every update? I didn't get it, Aman. Manisha, you can ask me the doubts that you are getting. Yeah. Ahmad, I didn't get your question. Update the model. If you are updating it in the server, then it's going to be done in real time. But if you are doing it in your local system, obviously you'll again have to copy the model file, right? Getting my point? Sagar, the terminal is just getting opened by clicking here, new terminal console. See, it's already open, so I'm closing this. This is the terminal getting open. Yeah. Okay, fine. So now our file is present in the server. So is there how to check the directory here? What is the command? Is there anyone who uses Ubuntu? ls? Great. Chirag, just put it over there in all panelists and attendees. Yeah, I'll put ls. So here you can see the churn folder is present. Now I want to change my directory to churn. So what should I do? I should do cd churn. Correct. Now let's see what is present over there in ls. We are getting model building.ipynd, app.py, randomforest.pickle, requirements.txt, static and templates. What is requirements.txt? What is requirements.txt? I mentioned it in the last session, I guess. All the dependencies that were required. So if you open that file, requirements.txt, so here I have mentioned Flask, Pickle, sklearn and gunicorn. Okay. So now what should I do? What should be my next step? We'll go get into gunicorn, Prashant. Just give me some time. Yeah, we'll get into this. First tell me, what should I do? What should be the next step? So I'll have to go for my requirements, right? But before that, one more thing we need to do. What? We need to check the Python version, right? Which Python version we are working. Uh, Jigna, we are currently performing it in the Windows system, right? This is the server which is Ubuntu. For production, you will have to use Ubuntu. Otherwise, it gets complicated. But we are dealing it from our Windows local system, right? Getting my point? Yeah, commands will be given to you. Don't worry. I'll provide with the commands in the LMS. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So before that, I'll have to check my Python version. What is going to be my Python version? Let's see. Python 3 dash dash version. Yeah. This is going to be a new world for I guess most of them, Jigna, don't worry. So here I am having which version of Python? Python 3.8.5, correct? Now to install a package, which particular module we use? We use pip, right? So we'll have to check if pip is installed or not. So we'll see pip dash dash version. So here it's saying pip command pip not found. So let's see if pip version 3 is installed. Pip 3 dash dash version. So here we can see pip 20.0.2 is installed. But why is it installed? Because I have already done, I have been working in this particular server, correct? But for you, it is going to be a new server for you, correct? For that, what you'll have to do is you'll have to install pip. So the command for that is sudo apt install python 3 hyphen pip. So once I click on enter, it will ask me for my password. I'm giving the password and it's installed. Okay, my pip version 3 is now again installed. Already it was installed. So this is how you need to install pip. Getting my point? Any doubt, guys? If you are not having your Python installed as well, then you'll have to install Python as well. For that, search the command in the internet, you'll get it. Search for all these Linux commands now. This Ubuntu commands are easily available in the Google. Okay, you can search it over there, you'll easily get it. Just you need to put the purpose that yeah, I need to install Python in Ubuntu. So just search it over there, you'll get many commands over there. You can use any of them. Yeah. Any doubts still here, guys? Is the session getting boring? I can't see any interactivity in the chat box today. What's up? Everything good? Okay, great. So I'll just clear the screen once because lots of unnecessary stuffs are coming up. Now my Python and my pip is installed. Now what should be my next step? Once you practice it up, na Rupinder, it's going to be very easy. Don't worry. Command to clear screen is clear. CLEAR. Press enter. Your screen will get clear. Now we are done with my Python installation and my pip installation. Next should be my requirements.txt installation, right? For that, my command is going to be pip3 install our requirements. Yeah, this will okay, sorry, it should be requirements.txt. Yeah, here my requirements are already satisfied, but why is it satisfied? Because I have been using this server, but you'll have to again install it. Yeah. So what do you think whenever I am creating a project? Yeah, suppose I am creating a web app, I'm deploying it in a server, right? I'm deploying it in a server. So that server is going to be used for only for that particular web app. If you are just deploying it and you are monetizing it, why no? What do you think in that particular it? Suppose you have created a model and you have deployed it, you are earning money from that. So for one particular web app itself, you will have to have multiple servers. So you can't think of having multiple models deployed in one server. Getting my point? So in this particular case, you don't need to use any virtual environment kind of thing whenever you are dealing with such servers where you are just going to deploy one model itself. You know that. Here we will be dealing with something known as containerization. That is, for that we are having some tools or you can say packages known as Docker. Yeah, Docker is there, Kubernetes is there. Yeah, so all those stuffs will be used, but that particular thing we won't be covering it today. We will be doing it in the next session. But here I am just mentioning it here because if you that doubt might be there that why I am not using virtual environment in this case. Why was I using virtual environment? Why using it in my local system? Because in local system, obviously I am doing multiple number of projects, correct? For the for that particular purpose, I'll obviously have to use virtual environment. But when I'm dealing with a particular server, obviously I'm gonna deploy one web app over there. I am not going to deploy multiple web apps, right? Clear? Any doubt? Yeah. Now we are done with the installation of dependencies. Now what should be my thing? I should run my app.py. For that, Python 3 app.py. Here it is saying no such file or directory C drive users Lenovo download Charlie. Oh, okay. Tell me, why am I getting this error? It's very easy. Come on, tell me. File path. The file path that is mentioned in app.py is of my still my local system. So I'll have to edit it. Correct? So I'll have to edit it. For that, I'm having a command known as vim app.py. So I'll go inside this file. This is my app.py file, correct? This is the Flask app that we created. Here I'll press I, okay? And from here I'll have to remove this. Done. One more thing that we need to do over here is, here in app.run, you will have to provide a open IP. Host equals to 0.0.0.0. Okay, you'll have to provide it with an open IP so that everyone can access it. So the changes in the app.py files are done. Any doubt? I'll save it. For saving it, what should I do? You will have to press colon. I'll have to first press uh, escape, then colon and WQ, and then I am saved that particular file. Now I should run my Python 3 app.py. Still, it's giving me an error. Okay, there is a colon present over there. Here, okay, sorry. Delete. Okay, done. WQ, exit. Now, see, we have again deployed it, right? Here, I am getting my annotations are again not working. Yeah, this is the link that I am getting. That is 0.0.0.0 colon 5000. Okay, but still this warning is there. Warning: this is a development server. Do not use it in a production deployment. Use a production WSGI server instead. Okay, but before moving ahead with that, I'll just show you to you how this particular link works. So I'll copy this link. I'll copy this link and then I'll paste it over here. But in this 0.00 thing, I'll have to put my server's IP. Where is my server IP? I'll get it from here. C control V. See, the app is getting opened. Now, if I'm giving this link to you guys as well, it's going to get opened. But I am not giving it to you, to each and everyone. I'll just give it to one or two because still it is having a disadvantage. I'll tell you why. But let me give it to Ankesh. Okay, I'll give it to you as well, Radhika. Don't worry. Ankesh, just go through this link once, see if this is working for you or not. And I'm giving it to Radhika as well. Check it out. Tell us in the chat box if that link is working or not. And it is working, correct? Sagar is also getting it. Everyone is able to open it. But when I was doing it in my local system, were you able to open it? No. And if I want to create a website or something, but because this is already a website created, if I want to change the URL, there is something known as mapping, which is going to be obviously a paid process. uh, you can name it anything, like if you want, you can create this as an URL like customerchurnprediction.com, right? You can map it up, but that is anyways going to be paid. So I will now close it up. I'll now close it up. Now if you refresh it up, are you able to access it? Are you able to access it now? Refresh that page. Radhika, Sagar, Jigna, everyone can't reach. Why? Because I have shut it down from my server. Now there is a disadvantage over here. You are getting this warning here, correct? Where is it? Where was that warning? Okay, that might have gone. I'll just clear it up now. Clear the screen. Clear. I'll just again have it, python3.app.py. Here if you see this, this is still here, user production WSGI server institute, correct? It's still in the development server. So what is happening over here is, if you are using it like this, if multiple requests are gonna come there at the same point of time, suppose Manish, Obhilesh, and Ankesh, and everyone is pressing the predict button at the same point of time, it's going to crash, because there is some limitations of requests that it can accept. So this same thing happened with Flipkart or Amazon, I don't remember, a few years back. Okay, it happened with them that they just released their this flagship sale, that is a Great Indian sale or something, a big billion, you can say, big billion days, and the website crashed because it was not able to take that much amount of request at a single point of time. So for that particular thing, we need to create it multi-threaded, as Deepak is saying. We'll need to have multi-threading over here. Getting my point? What's the disadvantage over here right now? That's why it is saying it's not a production server. It's still a development server. For that, you'll have to convert it into a WSGI server. So what does multi-threading do? Basically, in multi-threading, you'll be having that work is basically divided it into workers. So each machine is basically divided into some workers. So each request is basically attended by one of those workers. Right now there is only one worker. So if lots and lots of number of requests is getting to that worker gets confused and your website gets crashed. But if you are doing multi-threading, this problem is going to resolve. But how many number of workers, how many number of threads it can take, it depends on the configuration of your server. Okay, it depends on the configuration of your server. So basically there is a formula for that. The formula is, let me write it up here. You won't be able to connect, Sandeep. I have just shut it down now. So number of cores into 2 plus 1. This number of threads you can have in your this number of threads, this number of maximum number of threads you can have. Okay, number of workers, sorry, this many number of workers you can have in your server. So it depends on your server. So it's a basic formula, Sukrut. We can't derive it up here, right? Number of cores into 2 plus 1. So Jigna is saying, can you repeat multi-thread part once again? So basically, suppose you are using a single system over here. So once you are clicking on predict, suppose you, Sandeep, Manish, and everyone is clicking on predict at the same point of time, the server can't take that much amount of load. Okay, so for that you can distribute your server into workers. If you have attended your task session, if you guys remember, there were some workers over here, right? So you can do it in the server as well. You can distribute it in the number of workers, and each request is going to be attended by that particular worker, so it gets distributed. Clear, Jigna? That is what multi-threading is basically. Okay, any doubts still here, guys? Now for that we are having something known as G-Unicorn. I'll just rub it up now. Clear screen. Okay. So for that, so for with cores there will be 9 workers. Yeah, correct, Sandeep. So for that we are having something known as G-Unicorn. Yeah, Manisha. See, this is going to be a totally different field, right? These particular things are basically taken care by the you can say the full stack developers or the DevOps team. These are something that is being taken care of by them. But still, we need to know how to. We need to basically have this experience with us to how to make the backend, how to connect the backend and the front end, how to make it production ready, right? And that's why we need to have a basic idea of it. So that's why that's the basic motivation behind this whole series of sessions, right? Ankan, as I said, number of workers basically, if you want to distribute your work in, suppose you basically, it's a, what I can say is, if you are giving a task to someone, you distribute it to your team members, right? That is the same thing that the server is gonna do. Getting my point, Ankan? So if you are pressing that predict button in the website, there is a predict button over here, right? So that once you press the predict button, it will go to the model, it will predict it for you and will give back the result. So if too many people are pressing it in the same time, then it's gonna crash. So you'll have to distribute it in number of workers. That's why there is something known as G-Unicorn. So for that we'll have to let me clear it up first. Okay, great. I'll clear. Yeah, exactly, Sandeep. Okay, so for that I'll have to install G-Unicorn first. So the command to install it is sudo apt. But I guess G-Unicorn was already there in the requirements.txt, right? So I don't need to install it again. Yeah. So now I'll have to create my WSGI. For that, there is a command known as nano wsgi.py. So this window opens once you click on that. Here I'll have to pass a code for which I'll use from app import app. Okay. And there I'll have to give if underscore underscore name underscore underscore equals to underscore underscore main. I hope you guys remember this code was already there in your Flask app, right? Yes. Here you'll have to give app dot run. Okay, now I'll have to save this file. For saving it, you can't just do WQ here. You'll have to do Control X and then Y and enter. Now if I am doing ls, you can see there is a wsgi.py file created. This one. Now let me open it again for you. Vim wsgi.py. Yeah. Or now let us check this code. This was our Flask code, correct? Why do you think I am using from app import app? Any idea? Manish, I used Control X. Once you press Control X, it will ask you to save it. For that, you'll have there are options, yes or no. You need to press Y and it will just close. Yeah. Now tell me one thing. I'll show it to you, Sagar. I'll show it to you. Just a second. But tell me from app import app. Why are these two names same over here? Import app function from app file. Good, Chirag. Basically, what is happening? You are having app.py file over there, correct? App.py file is your Flask script, correct? And inside your Flask script, you have defined your Flask app as app. The variable name is app. That's why we are importing it from the app. Getting my point? Why the names are same over here? If the Flask code file name, that is app.py name, is something different, then I would have put that name here. Suppose that file name is code.py, then I'll use from code import app. Clear? Any doubt? So basically your first app name is your file name and this is going to be your Flask app name. So once you are doing it, just remember this thing. Suppose your file names are different, your app name is different, and you are giving this command, you will obviously get error. Okay, clear? So we have created our wsgi.py file now. Now we need to execute it using gunicorn. Okay, this is the last thing that is left. So we'll have to execute it using gunicorn. For that, we are having a very easy command, that is gunicorn. Okay, gunicorn, that is just threads equals to, you can put it anything, like let me put it as 3, and bind, there is something known as bind. It will get installed along with requirements.txt, Sagar. And if you want to install it explicitly, then Chirag has given you that command, sudo apt install gunicorn. That will do. Okay, 0.0.0.0 colon 5000. Then I'll have to mention my WSGI app. This command looks a bit complicated, but this is how you will execute your app using gunicorn. Gunicorn hyphen threads, the number of threads you want. I am giving it 3. We'll check it with other number of threads as well. Then you'll have to give bind 0.0.0. What is this 0.0.0? It's basically the open IP. So it's not mandatory to mention 0.0.0 here if you are mentioning it in your app.py. We have already mentioned it in our app.py, right? Host is equals to 0.0.0. Remember? Yes. No, app is the name of that particular Flask app that is created. Sukrut. Okay. So if I click, if I press enter now, see, Here I am having one worker. Okay, here I am having one worker over here, and this is getting your this particular thing is now. Is there any warning over here? That warning that we used to get, use WSGI production ready server and something something. No, right? So if I am accessing it using this link, now if I'm executing it, see, it's working. Correct? I'll have to put my IP. What is my IP? Copy it from here, paste it. It's working. Is it working in your side as well? Now if I can put this link publicly, try accessing it up, guys. Someone has given yes. You will have to put integer. Okay, every log, everything is going to be present over here. Okay, Jigna, I'll load it today, no problem. Sukrut is saying not working. Nirmal is saying not working. uh, that might be an issue with the internet then, because in my end it's perfectly working. Okay, I guess it has reached that particular limit now. Okay, it has reached that limit, I guess. So that's why it's not working. Now getting my point. Why we need to have a strong server? Only one PID is there, Rahul. As of now, only one PID is there. I'll have to mention it explicitly. So I'll shut it off now. I'll mention the number of workers here. For that, you will have to give the W equals to, let me give it as how much? Let me put it as 3. Actually, equal is not required. Let me put it as 5. Sorry. This equals to 5. What was that command? Gunicorn. Okay. Sorry. Sorry. It's a mistake. See, you are getting that many number of workers. Yeah. I am shutting down using Control C. It's giving me that thing, right? Customer will not charge. It's a bit slow right now, as I said. It is having, according to the server, its server is very weak. It's a micro server that we took, so it's taking a bit of time. Yeah. So I'll shut it down now. Okay. I'll shut it down. I'll press Control C, and it's shut. Are you guys able to understand how to create a web app from data abstraction till putting it into a production ready WSGI server? We are almost in the end part now. Still, we are having some of those things that we need to take care of. Yeah. But I hope you guys are having that idea right now, that how to build a production ready web app. Yeah. Sachin is saying, are we going to use GitHub? GitHub, as of now, we are not planning to use. GitHub is not required over here. Obviously, Cliff, this is, as I said, it is something that you'll have to break your head a bit, because we don't use it usually, right? That's why we get it a bit difficult. But if you are uh, very friendly with Ubuntu, then it's going to be very easy. Yeah. No, Srinivas, we won't be providing the server, obviously. That you'll have to take care of. As I said in the very beginning, you'll be having free credits in AWS, in GCP. Try to use that, create a server, and you can go for a web app. Yeah, you can do that. Sukrut, what I would suggest, research on this. What is the difference between workers and threads? I'll pick you up in the next session regarding this. Yeah, you get back to me in this. What is the difference between workers and threads? Uh, I'll pick you up in the next session. Yeah, yeah. I'm in my laptop itself. I have double booted it, Cliff. So I'm having Ubuntu and Windows both, because Linux is something which is very. I mean, I feel very comfortable with Linux. So I have kept it, but anyways, the office works needs to be done in Windows. So most of the time I'm on Windows. But yeah, Ubuntu is still installed in the system. Sandeep, the process is anyways going to be same. You just need to take care of the server. For the server, I have already given a link. Still, I'm putting it in the chat box. Go through that, create a free server on GCP, and go through the same process. Go through the recording. You'll get the how to create it, how to put it, everything, and you can easily create a web app. Yeah. Now in the next session, we are gonna cover how to containerize this. Okay, how to containerize this. Did you FOD design in HTML? Yeah, that design is basically, Sandeep, is very poor. Okay, you can, I mean, that is a very poor design that we have done, because we are obviously not web designers. So in industry, you will be having allocated team for that. You will be having the designers. They will create it for you. You don't need to break your head in HTML and all the other languages that is being used for designing. Yeah, we have just used it for the illustrative purpose. That's it. I did it in HTML, Sandeep. Yeah, there are $300 credits available, Abhilesh, which you can use to go for a server. Yeah, codes are already uploaded, Sandeep. It's already there in the LMS. If you open it, there is a folder name as templates. Yeah, there is a folder named as template. I'll just show it to you in my system. I have uploaded a zip file. You can download it up in the LMS. So this is the template, and there home and result, two HTML files are uploaded. Clear? Yeah, HTML is also present over there, Sandeep, in the same zip file. See, all these file needs to be in the same folder, right? Why should it be in the same folder? By the way, tell me. If I'm keeping templates in some other folder, what is gonna happen? What is gonna happen? Anyone? Everything is linked. Everything is linked. If you open your app.py, there is your result.html here. The first thing that it's gonna search is for home.html. If it's not gonna found, it's just going to throw you an error. Yeah. Okay, fine. So this was all for the today's session, guys. I hope it was some at. I know everyone was a bit confused over here, but I hope at least 10 or 20% of thing was understandable by you guys. I tried to make it as simple as possible, but still, you guys need to work on it a bit. We'll then next session, as I said, we'll containerize everything. We'll have a look at it, how to containerize using Docker and how to scale it using Kubernetes. Then once we are done with containerization, then we'll move on to your CI/CD. What is CI/CD? What is the CI/CD pipeline? We'll be discussing it in the next session. Not next, actually. After week after the next session. Yeah. Okay, fine, guys. You guys can drop off. We are done for the day. We'll meet next Tuesday, same time. Thank you. Bye bye. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, guys. Bye. I'll upload the recording and everything by tomorrow. You guys can go through it. If you feel any doubt or anything, you can put it in academic set and say. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you guys. Thank you for attending the session. Have a good night. We'll meet next week. Yeah. Thank you.